I wish there was a Spider-Man joke. I'm just gonna say that. I wish there was a Spider-Man joke. Because he says Shazam in Raimi Spider-Man. I wish they did. I wish he tried to do like the web thing or something. I wish there was like a full circle moment in this movie.
You know, it took almost 20 years.
But we completed a circle of jokes.
But if children go back and see the first Spider-Man movie now, they might know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Because in 2002, they would not have.
Yeah.
Most kids would have had no idea.
But no, I really think that should be...
That was for adults that grew up with comics. That was that joke.
But I do feel like... I also feel like Shazam was pretty well known by like our parents.
That's
like,
what I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel like older people...
That's what I said. Like, it was for parents that grew up with comics,
But yeah, no. There should have been a Spider-Man joke in this when he was trying to like fly or something. I wish he... I don't know. There should have been something. I feel like it's a really missed opportunity that there's not something...
You could have had a bit...
It's
because
like, go web,
they have no idea what his powers are. Like, they could have had a bit where... the other kid was like, do this and see if anything happens. Like,
yeah.
You could have done that.
Yeah, I just want, I don't know, for me there's a missed opportunity that there's not a full, that we don't bring that joke full circle.
I wouldn't have thought of that. That's pretty good. Feel free to say that in the video somewhere.
I mean, this can just be the beginning of the video.
Oh. But, I mean,
we'll tack it on to the end. This will be like the stinger.
We'll tack it on to the beginning. It's the magic of film. Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And we are here to tell you how we felt about... Eric?
Shazam!
Shazam! Oh, nothing happened.
I didn't know that's where you're going with that.
That's unfortunate.
I thought you were telling me to like present the like feeling it, not feeling it thing. I'm presenting to you the idea of feeling it or not feeling it.
So step 1 is we tell you what happened in the movie, and then step 2 is we tell you best thing, worst thing, and then step 3 we flip the sign. That's how the show works. Anyway, so we just saw Shazam like minutes ago.
The second Captain Marvel movie in a month.
Isn't that crazy?
Or at least in 4 weeks. That's not the same month. But...
And with at least one actor who's in both movies. That was a thing that I couldn't believe.
Yep.
When I noticed it. The guy who plays the Wizard Shazam is in Captain Marvel, because he's the guy who plays...
He's the Who?
He's the Who guy?
In Guardians.
In Guardians, yeah. Couldn't believe that. That is the same guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's you told me that you knew who he was. I wasn't sure. No, I was like, he looks vaguely familiar.
No, but I told you I knew him from Constantine.
Yeah, no, and he is.
That is the same actor,
yes,
right?
He is Papa Midnight. Yes.
That's...
The Who guy is Papa Midnight.
That's great. So
which is disappointing, because you got like downgraded from Papa Midnight to that one scene in Guardians.
That's true, but they got elevated back to
Shazam.
Shazam. I mean, that's pretty good escalation there. That's pretty good. So anyway, Eric, tell us just a little bit, if you would, about what happens in Shazam. Now we're doing how we felt about, so we're not gonna go into spoiler territory right now. We're posting this the day the movie comes out, so this is gonna be squarely a what we thought of it and whether we think it's worth you guys going and spending your hard-earned cash to see in the theater. Eric, give us a very brief synopsis of Shazam.
Shazam is about Billy Batson, who's an orphan, and he's taken in by a foster family because he spends all his time looking for his mom. He got lost at a carnival when he was a kid.
And being mean to cops.
He's lucky that he did not get abducted by carnies.
Oh, that's a good point.
He's very lucky he did not get abducted by carnies. Yeah. His life could be hell. Or he could have been taken in by the Graysons. But so...
You know what? Maybe that's how you fix the Robin thing. Because we do still have carnivals.
Abducted by carnies?
No, not abducted by them, but just having him be part of a traveling carnival as opposed to...
Yeah, but they don't do trapeze acts.
No, he would have to be something else less impressive, wouldn't he?
Is he like a Ferris wheel tech?
He's just the guy that stands there and hands you balls to throw. And then he's like an expert marksman when he comes robbing, and that's his thing now. He's like... It's like he hands people Nightwing staffs, and then they just throw them at balloons.
Sometimes he uses a slingshot when he's robbing. Maybe you could do like a slingshot for balloons or something. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
But so Billy Batson is taken in.
This is a terrible idea.
By this foster family that's wonderfully diverse.
And like a wonderful couple that you wished raised you.
Yeah,
they're great.
The best foster parents I've ever seen in the film. The kind of people that should be taking in lots and lots of kids. But
he got really lucky he found those people.
Yeah.
But, although, to be fair, it's not too convenient. He's been to plenty of other families before that.
It's 23, I think.
Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah.
But it makes sense that this is the one he would choose to stay with.
Yes.
Like, I 100% believe that. Like you've seen this kind of story before. You're like, yeah, I guess. I mean, this is where you were when you went through your character arc, so I guess you'll stay here. But
that's a great point. Yeah. Well, and not to jump too ahead of you, but like the main theme of the movie, of course, is family, and you choose your family as opposed to
it's where you hang your hat. It's the whole thing of the movie is that home is where you hang your hat.
Yes. Or where you say Shazam and lightning at.
But Mark Strong is an evil villain who's connected to the Shazam mythology.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants Shazam's powers. Oh, and at some point Billy Batson becomes Shazam. Mm-hmm. And we spend like a lot of the movie, it's like Iron Man. Like it's just fighting out his powers.
Yeah, because Shazam's like really desperate to finally pass the powers on, and so he picks Billy Batson.
And then when we round about the last third of the movie, or what you might call a third act, we start punching and we start fighting.
There is a lot of that.
There's a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
Near the third act of the movie. So yeah, that's kind of what Shazam's about.
Cool. Well, Eric, how did you feel about Shazam? Would you give us a best thing, a worst thing, and then give us a good slang flip?
Sure. I thought Shazam was incredibly fun.
Yeah.
Very energetic. I want to leave with worst thing because I think it might be fatal. I liked this movie, but I think my problem with this movie is very deep-seated in this movie.
Kind of damns it?
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's one of those things like I enjoyed it while I was watching it, but even then I was still thinking about it. I was like, this doesn't work. So, best thing is probably the surprise twist at the end, which I did not see coming, and worked really, really well.
It was cool.
So that's probably just because I don't know the last time I really went to a superhero movie and was surprised.
Yeah.
So props on that.
And it was the kind of surprise where I was like, I mean, I figured they'd get to that, but not until another movie. Mm. Like that was kind of fun. And where I was reminded, oh yes, this is a thing I know about this mythology.
Yeah,
hopefully not giving too much away, but I had that thought where I was like, oh yeah, I know a little bit more about this than I thought I did. Because I'm not a big Captain Marvel guy.
I'm not either. I had the power of Shazam when I was a kid, with like the 80s miniseries, and I read a little bit of Jeff Johns stuff in...
This movie could have been called that.
Power of Shazam?
Yeah.
I loved Jeff Johns. When I read Jeff Johns' Shazam, I can remember nothing about it. I just remember reading it and I was like, oh yeah, this is what Shazam should be like.
Because they kind of tiptoed around, is Shazam his superhero name, is it not?
They have to decide that in the sequel.
They do, absolutely. But they kind of play it for comedy, and I think that's the way to handle it, where they just cannot land on a superhero name for him. And it's just a really unfortunate, sticky place that DC is in with that, where they're not allowed to call it Captain Marvel anymore. And
I would have just come up with a different name.
You think so?
Not
in the movie, though. You'd think the DC Comics would have.
No, in the comics. Well, Shazam's always weird anyways, because a lot of people accidentally called him Shazam anyways. People accidentally called him Shazam.
Big fans of it or purists would be like, that's not his name, and now there's nothing else to call him.
Yeah. Okay, so worst thing.
Yeah.
I 100% do not believe that kid and that man are the same person. They are giving completely different performances. I think that kid is playing 14 and Zachary Levi is playing 10. I don't believe anything with those two.
Genuinely shocked.
Okay.
Genuinely shocked. Now, I hope you don't see me as hyperbolic.
Okay.
When I say this, or just taking advantage of this moment, because
is that your best thing?
I swear to God, that was my best thing.
Interesting.
This is fascinating.
No, I thought.
Wow.
So
to the point where I in certain scenes had to remind myself I was looking at two different actors.
Oh,
I cannot believe that you're saying that.
I could not believe that they were the same person. I thought he played like a child and the kid played like a teenager.
I disagree with you more than I have ever disagreed with you on anything.
Wow! So some of it is also the writing.
That is fascinating.
Some of it is also the writing, because when we get to the middle of this movie...
No, I'm with you there.
When we get to the middle of this movie, they completely lose track of who that kid is. And he starts doing things where I'm like, yeah, that kid wouldn't do that. that kid is on a mission to find his mom, he would be doing that with his... He would be trying to do that with his superpower.
You're right. There's some inconsistencies where there are moments where the kid seems too wise beyond his age with other things he's done in other scenes. And I imagine there are Captain Marvel fans that will... that will be annoyed that he's pretty clearly lacking in the wisdom of Solomon part.
Sure. But... Wow,
like
yeah, he's kind of a dumb guy.
Because they play him as exactly the same character. Like that's not what it is in the comics. Like am I right about this?
I think it changes from write to write.
Okay,
because sometimes it's not even the same guy.
Because I thought the way we play, and sometimes it's more like a symbiosis kind of thing, right?
It's sometimes kind of like Firestorm,
where like he grows up, or like. There's not like another entity, but he does get wisdom and like. When he grows into Shazam, or when he grows into Captain Marvel.
No, what I think is almost fatal to this movie is that I believe that Billy Batson and Shazam are two different characters with two completely different goals and worldviews. Like, not just the acting, but also the writing. When we get to the Iron Man stuff, where, like, he's just, like, learning about his powers, and then, like, when he's just goofing off, making money, I don't believe for a second that the Billy Batson character is doing any of that. It's very weird to me.
I don't agree with that at all.
Okay.
I mean, he's the same kid that at the beginning is screwing around with cops and running away, and how is that not the same kid?
Because everything he does in life is to find his mom, and it's like he completely forgets that when he's Shazam. I buy it in the beginning when he's just having fun.
Okay.
But I don't... He seems childish in a way that he doesn't as
I thought at that point he was
kid.
simply distracted, and I thought he had... I thought the idea... And it's funny, because now I'm getting flashbacks to people's criticisms with Amazing Spider-Man, where it's like he gets his spider powers, and then eventually he doesn't seem as interested in revenge. Remember that whole thing?
Yeah.
Ultimately, I broke that down, and I think it ended up working okay. But I'm getting flashbacks to that all of a sudden. With this, I thought it was... It had been proven to him... I'm trying not to spoil things.
Yeah.
It had been proven to him by that point, just before he gets his superpowers, that he's probably not going to be able to find his mom on his own. And I thought at that point he had pretty much just given up. Like, he still really wants to do that.
But he had a completely new avenue he'd never had before. He had superpowers. He could fly wherever he wanted.
He couldn't,
He could look through every phone.
But first, he's got to learn how to do everything.
He goes super... Yeah.
But he's not good at it.
No, but
he screws up all the time.
But that kid is so driven. Like, I feel like that would be his first. Like, quick, teach me how to do this so I can go use this. He's so wide. Here's the thing.
Now, I'm somewhat going up against you on this because it's a thing I didn't think of. So on a second viewing, I will consider that. Well, but I did not think of that.
And here's the thing, and this is why it doesn't kill the movie for me. All of those scenes with Zachary Levi, I think, are a joy to watch. I just think they don't fit at all. But I think that he's playing...
So you'll agree that he is perfect casting?
Yeah, he is perfect casting for a different Captain Marvel movie. He is perfect casting for Captain Marvel, like traditional Captain Marvel. This kid is too rough around the edges for the G. Willikers Captain Marvel that he becomes.
Well, that is related to my worst thing.
Interesting.
So we'll get there in a little bit.
Yeah. But the other thing is, I almost immediately really, really like the kid. And really, like, kind of connected with him. And so when he becomes...
chemistry with him and his best friend is brilliant.
And so when he becomes Zachary Levi, like, I almost feel like I'm missing him. Like, I'm like, I know this is what I'm here for, but I'm kind of more interested in that kid, and it's a bummer.
Because you don't feel like they're the same person.
Yeah, it feels like I'm watching a completely different character. I was really... He
gets more screen time than I expected him to.
I agree. But I was really enjoying... Like, I'm really enjoying the Shazam stuff when it's there, but I'm invested in the Billy Batson stuff. And they feel not of a piece
That's how
to me.
It should be, but it's a problem if you don't think that they're matching up as the same character. Wow, that's really interesting.
But I will still go with feeling it. I am feeling it. I think it's enjoyable, and that's the thing is, even though I don't feel
You laughed a lot. I mean, it's a very funny movie.
It's a very funny movie. Even though I don't think the two sides congeal together to make a complete whole, both sides are enjoyable in different ways. So I'm not gonna like say I didn't like the movie. I did. I enjoyed watching the movie a lot.
You thought it was uneven.
Yeah, but like not like bad. Like I don't think the Zachary Levi stuff is bad. It's just inconsistent.
Yeah.
It's just a different movie than the Billy Batson stuff, and I really like the Billy Batson stuff. But what was your best thing, worst thing.
So my best thing, we just went over already, and I'm gonna stand by it.
No, that's fair.
I did feel like I was looking at the same performance all the way through, and you do raise a good point, certainly, about his not continuing to go after his mom at that point. I mean, he does again later, certainly. It seems like he's just distracted for a while, but that's. I don't want to give things away, but I mean, like, there is a concrete reason that ends up happening later on. So, like, I see your point. I have to consider that. I had not thought of that. My worst thing. Well, let me get into a couple more positives real quick.
Yeah.
Just so that I'm not so it doesn't seem like I'm immediately leaping in a worst thing because we've talked about my best thing already because my best thing is Eric's worst thing. One of the things I enjoyed the most about this movie is that it is basically a kids movie.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool. I appreciated that they had the audacity to basically make a movie for like 11, 12-year-olds.
But I also like that the adult stuff that's there comes completely naturally from what you would want at that age.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, I could be a prude and complain that there are a few jokes here and there and you know, lines and swear words and stuff that are maybe too adult for what I would think of as a kid's movie, but it's on the level of a lot of, like, family films that were leaning more edgy in like the late 80s, early 90s, like
Spielberg
Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Goonies.
Yeah, it felt like that kind of thing. And also, it's funny because we were just talking about this earlier today, you and I, with Stranger Things, and wondering if a thing like that could be made now. This, in a way, felt like that. I don't mean like Stranger Things, but but it felt like the closest you could get to the 80s, like, kid running about town, like, doing his own thing without any adult supervision. The only context in which you can get away with that in 2019 is foster kid who's basically homeless.
And like, running away.
And running away. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it totally worked for that. And so, I don't know, I had kind of a nostalgia with that. And also, so I appreciated that, and I was just laughing a lot. I thought the big stuff, because of course this was described by the director and by the people making it as, you know, Big meets a superhero. It's that Tom Hanks movie with the kid who makes a wish and winds up as an adult.
It's Fred Savage, right?
Yeah, I think that's Fred Savage.
I'm pretty sure it's Fred Savage. It's been a long time since I saw that movie, but I'm pretty sure it's Fred Savage.
It's
that like weird voodoo.
You know
machine.
what?
I was surprised that machine wasn't in the movie. I was waiting for that machine, that fortune teller.
There is a reference to that movie that I liked a lot.
Yeah.
Now that you're saying that, I'm not confident that's who that is. I can't remember now. It's been too long since I've seen it. But we can look it up. But we're making a video.
Yeah.
But anyway, that now we're just gonna the comments will be flooded with it is Fred Savage. It's not Fred Savage. But anyway, that that stuff worked on the comedy side, but I wanted that kid to have more of a character arc about maturity and growing up, like Tom Hanks had in Big. And I feel like it's about his, like, it is a coming-of-age story to a degree, but it just doesn't go as far as I wish it did.
Okay, I feel like it does really well.
Do you really?
I feel like it's almost a reverse coming-of-age story, where it's he's lived such a hard life that he kind of put himself in. He's learning to be a kid.
Yeah,
without having to underline it and say, it's okay to just be a kid, Billy.
That's true, but I mean, like, he's faced with some, like, pretty harsh adult realities.
And, well, but he's also learning to, like, trust other people.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I think is a pretty adult thing.
It is a really positive, optimistic movie. I appreciate the feel-goodness of it. My worst thing is the same thing that I have a lot with Green Lantern stories, which is, I know why you're telling me it's that kid, but why really is it that kid? I had a real tough time.
Why we never get that early on where I'm like, his friend is way more pure of heart.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's too much of a Peter Parker type to be considered the one kid in the universe.
And that is Jeff Johns. I do remember that from Jeff Johns. Like, he's the one that adds that, like, kind of it's like how he had the backstory to The Flash. I bet you all this mom stuff is Jeff Johns.
Probably so. But, like, what is it about that backstory? About, like, is the idea supposed to be that, like, he's more pure of heart than anybody else because even without good role models, he still turned out okay? Is that the idea? I don't know.
It almost felt like Shazam the wizard needed to come back at the end of the movie and like be like, I knew it was you because I knew it was inside. It was buried, but it was in there.
I would have
something
rolled my
like
eyes at that.
I would have too, but...
Yeah, no, you're right. But why only that? Because Shazam's got, the wizard, has that line where he's like, you're my last chance. You're the last hope. There's nobody else. How come, though? Because when he gets his powers, like you were talking about earlier, he does the Peter Parker thing where he's kind of trying to help people here and there, but it is more of a selfish thing. It is more about him. He gets called out by his friend for good reason about that, and he is just a flawed human being. Now, I don't want him to be perfect. I don't want him to not be a human being, but the problem is more with the mythology than it is anything. Like, it's interesting that you've got that line, I think from one of the, like, evil entity guys that's, like, minor spoilers, but that's in the temple, that's, like...
the Sins, like if you've ever seen the temple in Captain Marvel comics, it's the Sins.
The Deadly Sins. That's part of the mythology of this. Yeah. He, like, classically... one of those entities, I think, is who says it, is like, well, you'll, like, there's nobody pure of heart. You'll never find that person.
Billy says that. Billy says, like, I don't think, that's not me. But I think that's what makes him the one. I mean...
Is it supposed to be that he doesn't believe that that's possible, and so he's got humility or something? But why is he the only one? My problem is I feel like you could find 1,000 kids like that.
Okay. So I have two possible things. Well. Okay. So the first one is because I've talked about before, like I don't think anyone that wants to be the president should be allowed to be the president.
Sure.
If you want power, you shouldn't get it. He immediately goes to, that's not me. I'm not the one worthy of that. And so he's immediately more worthy than everyone else that goes, yeah, I want that.
You can convince me of that. You can't convince me he's the only one.
Okay, but here's the second thing. The second thing is, I don't think he is the chosen one in any way. He just kept grabbing kids and they kept just not being worthy. He was just the last kid he grabbed when it was too late.
And so maybe the idea is that he's just trying to convince him so that maybe it'll work out.
Yeah, he's just his last hope. He's not necessarily the chosen one.
But he's only the last hope because that's like...
That's when the bad guy did the thing.
Because he's got like 5 minutes
before he loses his power. It is literally an answer to why now. Like Mark Strong just broke in and
I'm not asking the why now question. That is well answered. You're absolutely right.
I know, but I think it's possible to read it as he's not like the pure of heart chosen one, and maybe he's right when he says no one is that.
Saying that, yeah.
Yeah,
maybe that is supposed to be the idea.
But I'm not sure.
I wasn't totally sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It would have helped if Shazam had, like, specific reasons that he grabbed kids, where, like if he had some kind of, like, viewing globe or something, where he's, like, watching people.
Yeah, no, he just seems to he casts a spell, and the spell randomly brings kids to him.
Yeah, like Green Lantern rings.
Yeah.
The bad guy is... I'm feeling it.
Yeah,
certainly.
Sure.
It is not a brilliant, changing hearts and minds kind of movie. It's a feel-good movie. It's a popcorn movie. It did... The family stuff resonated with me.
Me too.
Certainly.
Me too.
And especially once we knew what it all was, because I was skeptical, but especially...
Yeah, the resolution of that arc genuinely, like, touched me.
The background with his mother hit me in a place. It got me. Like, on a personal level, that got me.
Same here.
Other than that, it's not... Again, I don't think, like, it's a particularly deep story. Except for that stuff. I mean, that got me. But it is a super fun movie. It's a really good movie. I think the villain is pretty generic. And thematically on paper, he's not. Like,
no, he's a good mirror to
There is a good
Shazam.
Two sides of the coin thing going on paper.
We just don't do anything with it.
And it's really unusual to get a thing like this where the bad guy seems much more interesting and sympathetic, and I get where he's coming from toward the beginning of the film. And then as it goes along, he gets gradually less interesting. That's unusual.
I liked him. I like Mark Strong.
You like the performance?
I like the performance. He sounds like Jeffrey Combs the entire movie, and that amused me just every single time he talked. You're right, he's generic, but I feel like he's generic in the way that, like, Isosceles is in Doctor Strange. Well, like, I'm never bored by him, but... like,
I was by the end.
I think all of... like, it's a writing issue. Yeah. Like, he's just kind of a generic...
No, it's not a problem with performance, necessarily.
But, like, I like him well enough.
I also... think the movie loses his character.
I think so too. But I think it has an excuse for that because he's...
But one of the reasons I say that it loses his character is he turns into an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the third act, he just starts forgetting how things work, and like he's taken down a little too easily, I think.
Oh, I didn't think that was his fault.
I think some of it's his fault.
Okay.
But we would have to get into spoilers to talk about it. But I think some of that's his fault. I get why he's... this is a minor spoiler, but I have to say it because it's wonderful and I loved it so much. He is understandably the way he is because he is raised by Lionel Luthor, and
that's not spoilers in the opening scene.
That is wonderful.
But we were surprised by it.
We were. John Glover is his dad, and he is a horrible person. And he's not just Lionel Luthor; he's like mirror Lionel Luthor. He's worse than Lionel Luthor. Well, he's like
Lionel Luthor if Lex had a younger brother that he knew about. And
we just kept pointing out things where it was like Smallville.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed a lot of that stuff about it as well. It's a really, like Aquaman, it is an absurd movie that embraces its absurdity and knows to, I think better than Aquaman, knows most of the time, to a certain degree at least, how to balance its storytelling with its absurdity, where it doesn't fall into a farce pit, but it does a lot of superhero parody stuff.
Mm.
And I think a lot of that is really funny, and where some of the best comedy comes from.
A lot of it feels like just living in the world of superheroes as opposed to...
Which is really nice.
Yeah. It feels like they live in a superhero world as opposed to they're making fun of superhero movies.
Yeah, how did you feel about the DCEU-ness of it?
I liked all of it.
I liked most of it.
Okay.
There
might have been things that bugged me, but I wasn't...
This is a tiny nitpick, okay? This is not a major thing. But I like to bring this up whenever this kind of thing happens, because it just kind of bugs me. I have a tough time with all the merchandising in that universe. That universe.
Sure.
You've got kids wearing Batman backpacks and shirts and stuff to school. I just feel like that would be pretty controversial. That a lot of people think that guy is like a murderer and stuff.
Brands people.
And even outside, because a lot of people are probably going to say, well, they've decided that DCEU isn't a thing
they
anymore.
Didn't know that when they made the movie.
Yeah, but like moving forward, they'll make a sequel to this, and it won't really be set in DCEU, but this will be canonical with it. So. Therefore, you could say that, even though it's the same, like, logos and the action figures have those faces on them, it's Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill, it's not necessarily those characters in that universe. Even if it is the most wholesome Superman and Batman ever, it is a realistic enough world that I have to assume that not everyone believes that those are good, wholesome role models, and it's just a little bit weird that they would be merchandised the way they are in the real world, and that always bugs me a little bit.
I want to believe that all of that merchandising is like Booster Gold. Like he somehow has the rights to all of those people.
Hilarious. He just keeps going back in time, putting it in stores.
Yeah. Or he goes back in time and gets the rights to all those names and things, and so once they show up, he just starts making the merchandise because he legally owns the rights to Batman and Superman.
We are. And again, this is made... Again, we have, with Aquaman and now Shazam, movies that are... that people seem to be liking pretty well. I mean, this got really good early reviews. People seem to be liking okay. Probably going to do pretty good at the box office. And seems to be on the right track, but was made by a guard that has already changed over again. Mm-hmm. So once again, we do have to continue moving forward wondering how much the future will look like this. If Warner's will be smart enough to keep making movies that just embrace what the property is, instead of looking at some kind of larger scheme in going up against Marvel or whatever. I think, not everybody loves Aquaman, but I think that a lot of people liked that movie because it was just unabashedly comic book, and this also has that.
Yeah, if you look at Aquaman and Shazam, you will see what I think the DC Cinematic Universe would have looked like if Jeff Johns and that other guy hadn't gotten fired after Justice League. Because these are the two movies that were under their watch. So, if you like these two movies, we could have had that.
Yeah, and I don't want to think that... outside of movies like Joker and stuff like that, that are more like in their own, universe that's completely set apart from this, regardless of whether DCEU is even at all a thing. I don't want to think that every movie that's not a rated R superhero movie is going to be a joke. Is going to be, or I don't want to call this a joke, but is going to be a comedy. I think it's just the like these two properties like lend themselves really well to those kinds of movies.
Well, I don't think Aquaman's overly jokey. It's an adventure movie.
A lot of people do.
I know, and that's so weird to me. It feels like jokey in the way that like Indiana Jones is jokey before it's. I don't know. It feels like a more classical jokey. But Thor Ragnarok is okay. Whatever. I don't know the world I live in anymore.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I had the same thing, but anyway. Well, that's how we felt about Shazam. Leave your comments. Let us know what you thought of this movie, and we will see you again soon. What is the next superhero movie we've got to review? Is the next thing Hellboy?
Hellboy.
Okay, so we'll see what that ends up being like, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks a lot for watching, folks. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
Bye, folks.
do.